Settings. All right, guys, we are back, and don't move. So it's always an exciting day, but I haven't quite decided what to call this yet. Maybe dental talk, fireside teeth. I don't know, we'll come up with something afterward. But back here, one of our member offices, they're part of the family with dental director Matthew. And you know, I was thinking, if you guys like the first video with describing what goes into implants, you know, what that actually looks like. In fact, where is that model? Do we have that model around here? Thank you. He's gonna go grab it. You know, I think it's just pretty cool. So I think we're gonna continue that, and I want to continue sharing more about the industry, more about the day-to-day things that, you know, you don't really think about until it's kind of too late. Meaning you're holding your head and then you're holding your face and it hurts. You can't think, you can't sleep, you can't eat, and you can't see straight. We want to try to get to that before it gets there. So that was the last video. I'm sure we're going to be using this again. But yeah, open free flow format. Let's see what Matthew wants to talk about. So say hi to Matthew. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. There it is.
Perfect.
Okay, so lots of things that we can really talk about when it comes to teeth, when it comes to dental,
Exactly.
when it comes to scheduling, seeing different doctors, working with specialists,
Right.
insurance, aftercare, going home, things you can eat, things you can't eat. The list goes on.
Totally.
And that's tip of the iceberg, right? So what would you like to talk about today?
So ideally, the biggest issues that comes across any kind of dentistry procedure is always revolving around money and insurance. What does my insurance cover? What doesn't it cover? How do I get my benefits? And you know, some people say mine covers everything, and some people say it'll only cover so much. So what I want to go over today is the idea of insurance being a supplement to your care. So what that means is a lot of insurance companies are going to have many disclaimers. They're going to have a lot of non-disclosures. There's information in there that they don't tell you, and you really don't know what you're getting, or unless you've used it before, until you go into a practice and you find out, wow, it doesn't cover much, and I'm on my own, and this stuff is way more expensive. I hear a lot from patients that, you know, I had just a hip replacement or a knee replacement, and you know, my insurance covered everything. I only had to pay, you know, a small copay of maybe $1,000 for a hip replacement. Maybe an open heart surgery. Sometimes it goes to that point. And then they find out over here, it's like dentistry isn't the same. They're like, well, I just paid for all this stuff, or I got all this major services, and this is what I got left. Totally opposite. In dentistry, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have a $1,500, $2,000, maybe even a $2,500 max allowable that they'll pay up to. How that typically works is it's got percentages that assigned to it. So there's basic, major, and preventative services. With anything we're talking about here with the elegant implants and our home office, it's typically a major service, which means on average it's about 50%. I've seen it go a little bit higher, but that's not the norm. The norm is around 50%. Now, going in network basically means you go to a provider's office that is participating with that insurance. What that means is they agreed to that insurance's policies, their protocols, and their fee schedule. That's the key. When you go out of network, let's just say you're paying for a private insurance and it's a PPO, that means you can go to an in or out of network and you can still get your coverage. It's all dependent upon your plan. All plans are different. They're not the same. If you're in a big company like Boeing or Microsoft and everybody's got, let's just say, Delta Dental, doesn't mean that your buddy that's across the hall from you has got the same insurance policy that you do. So if you hear some story about them, hey, he got all this work done and he only had to pay $100, why do I have to pay $3,000 or more? That's the difference.
Hold on. So, all right, just to back up real quick for the smart people in the room.
There you go.
So this is specific to dental plans.
This is specific to dentistry in general.
Dentistry in general. Thank you. So dentistry in general, right? So recap, because I'm slow. Most insurance plans will cover 50%, I guess if you're lucky, maybe 60% of a major service. So what's a major service?
A denture, a partial, crown, bridge, ortho's got its own deductibles, a little bit separate, still major. Root canals, anything along the lines of basically what you're gonna need, that's a major service. What's not a major service is the stuff that they pay 100% for generally. Like your cleanings, like your polishings, your perio maintenances, anything that revolves around your normal, you go in every 6 months, get your cleaning done, the x-rays, the visit, and that sort of a thing, that's typically 100%. Everything else is typically, a major service. There's another category called basic, and basics are basically fillings. That's about it. If you get a filling, then that's at its own fee schedule amount and its own percentage. But again, all the big procedures, you need a crown, that filling turned to a root canal, that's all major. And they all have percentages according to the insurance. Now, if you go out of network again, and let's just say you have a PPO is just a designation for the policy that you've got with the insurance company. You go out of network, then that gets downgraded. You don't realize that until you go and find out. Like, hey, I go to my own office back in God knows where you're at, but you go there and then you find out, like, okay, I'm out of a network, I'm at an office that participates, but it's out of network still. All of a sudden, you're 50% dumbed down to 40. Sometimes you'll get a filling. They'll dumb that down to even less than that, 40% as well, when it should have been 50. And they'll even bump it down to an amalgam filling half the time. They don't tell anybody that, which throws off the numbers. A lot of offices are trying to get away from it. It's very difficult to get away from even accepting insurance because of all the games that they play. There's really no way to know every single time unless you do one thing. It's called a predetermination. Predetermination is something that you have to go to your practice, get a diagnosis, fill out the whole claim, send it in, and see what they say. They will tell you at that point what that is. Now, if you're in there in an emergency or you got a timeline that's very fixed, you're not going to get that when you need it. It's going to, on average, take about a month, maybe even a month and a half, depends, before you get that back.
Hold on, so this is crazy. So you're saying that even though you might call your insurance company before you do a procedure, without maybe all of the procedural codes and all of the billing, but you just call them to say, hey, my doctor says I need such and such to be done.
Right.
Do you cover it? They could possibly tell you, yes, that's covered, and then later on deny it?
They could deny it. They'll even tell you maybe it'll be around this point or not, and it won't be accurate. The only way to get an exact accurate quote is to go through that whole process with your provider and send it in, and then they send it back. It's like sending in a claim, but you've got to wait.
What?
You can't call on the phone. You can't ask them. A dental practice can give them the 88 code, the procedure, the tooth number, everything that's going to be on the claim. And they cannot tell you. They won't tell you. It's an insurance, guys. Insurance isn't out there to pay claims to providers. They're there to make things complicated, convoluted, so that way they won't pay. They don't have multi-millions and billions of dollars because they paid on claims. They're hoping the practice and the patient just give up at some point because of all the issues that go along with it. So that way, hey, we don't have to pay now. Great, the person's still paying their premium, the business is still paying their premium, but we just didn't have to pay it because they didn't go within the parameters of their policy. There's some new ones that dental insurances are playing right now that they will deny the entire claim if it takes up to 6 months. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking 6 months, that's a long time. You guys should have gotten that in. Not the case. Typically what happens, you'll send something in and they'll send something back within, it takes them a couple weeks at least to get some information back to the practice and the patient. Maybe even longer, almost a month. Think about that. Every time you send something in, it takes about a month before you get something back on average. And then it's like, well, we need this. Okay, great, fine, I got it. Get the response in, send it back in. You wait a month, maybe 2. What's going on, guys? I don't understand. Oh, now we need some x-rays. Okay, here's the x-rays. Okay, now our provider and our staff, they send you another list. They think that it's not required and it doesn't look right. They're basically diagnosing. And then we get another response. You're already 3 or 4 months into it. Great, okay, I send something else in. Now we need a narrative. We need something that explains why you had your doctor provide that service for you. Okay, great, here we go again. Send it back in. Now all of a sudden you're past month 6 and they send you another letter again. You're like, great, why didn't we get payment for this patient? So we can move forward. And then you find out, oh great, they went past 6 months. Now you have no benefits, you have nothing. The office has to basically write that off. and they lost all that money. And you might even have lost the care, or maybe you got the care, but things aren't working out. But they didn't even pay because now you're out of that coverage range. It was past 6 months. It just, again, it becomes a major mess.
My mind is blown. How many of you guys knew that? Let me know.